drive on him.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, laying. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Happy New Year, folks. Welcome in. First to the floor. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Unfortunately, we have been forced by the passing of time to depart from the year in which the Celtics won the NBA championship. So we're going to be talking all about what needs to happen for that to repeat in 2025. Ben Vallis here along with Wayne Spooney. Spooney, Happy New Year, man. How you doing?
Happy New Year, Ben. I'm doing all right. As we exchanged some texts earlier, but daycare has been closed for 2 weeks in my life. And I found out I'm maybe not fit to be a parent because I'm psychologically and emotionally a different man at this point. But it's open tomorrow. I don't have to work. Light at the end of the tunnel. Celtics whoop the shit out of the Raptors. So things are looking up. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Daycare also closed on this side of the world, so looking forward to that. Obviously, we love our children. We love spending time with them. But we also do like a little bit of time to ourselves from time to time, which has not been the case with the influx of family and closed daycare institutions. So looking forward to that getting back on track. But speaking of institutions, the Celtics whipping the shit out of bad teams is an institution, a tale as old as time. 125-71, Spoony. Yeah. According to NBA Scoregami, the 3,151st unique score in NBA history. That score has never occurred ever before in NBA history. A 54-point win. The Celtics, this is my favorite stat, if you want to call it that, could have scored no points in the first half and still won the game.
Yeah,
that's insane.
If that doesn't tell you what happened, nothing does. But so I watched this game on delay. I watched the first half live, and then I couldn't watch anymore, aforementioned children. And then I checked the final score before I went to the second half, and I was like, what the hell happened? Because it was like an 8-point game at halftime, and I'm like, oh, I hope they kind of step on the gas and win this game. I didn't expect them to win by 50. So needless to say, when I sat down and got to watch that, it was just glorious, man. And like this team, when the shots go in, it makes me very happy, but like they don't need to go in at 50% because if they do, this is what happens. When teams make 45-50% against us, it's like a 7-point game or a tight game. We sometimes even manage to win. When the Celtics do it, they beat you by scoregami scores, which is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all having a scoregami.
51% from three on 43 attempts is like really, you just glance at that and you're like, I know exactly what happened here without even watching the game. But good process in like generating those wide open looks. I thought we kind of got back to our drive and kick game a little bit to get us going. And then we just got to those like one pass, like pull up shots that are, Peyton Pritchard, for example, Sam Hauser, 4 of 7 from 3 as well. But it was the initial effort in generating those looks that we found our rhythm rather than some of those, I guess, lazier, slower footed starts we've seen in recent games past. So that was good, obviously, the shooting. But I wanted to ask you about the defense. Is this the legitimate return of our defense? Obviously, holding a team to 71 points is no easy feat. Or is it just the Celtics beating up on maybe the shittest current team in the league?
I don't know how this Raptor team is so bad. Like, I like a lot of their guys, except actually, really quick, I have to add Scotty Barnes to the LeBron list. I hate that dude. Dude,
what has he done now?
He screams every time he goes to the paint, and it's not like a hey, oh, it's like a ah. Like, I don't want to blow out your eardrums, but it is fucking obnoxious. And then I clipped this and tweeted it out. He had this defensive possession where he hits like a fall-away jumper to make it a 17-point game. And then he plays the most ridiculous, dumbest, like aggressive defense on Tatum where he's like bobbing his head at him. And I called it Jack Russell Terrier defense because if you've ever been around one of those, they're just like really fidgety and crazy. And it's like, what are you doing, dude? You were a minus 39 in this game. Like, chill out. So I just just really, really despise Scotty Barnes. Also, I've always been a lot lower on him than consensus. And I think he is their problem because he is just not good enough to be your best player. He is like the perfect third best player. Fits in, cuts, can occasionally make a three, moves the ball really well. I think his defense is super overrated. But back to your original question. Sorry, I just really had to get that out. It was in my heart, Ben. I had to hate on Scotty Barnes for a little bit. Yeah, I think like the Raptors are bad. They are not score 71 points in 2024 or 2025 bad. Like they have some dudes who can shoot. Like the defense looked really, really great. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Drew Holiday returned and all of a sudden he fixed the defense.
Yeah, dude, Drew was back. His shot was back as well.
Yeah.
I had the box score up in front of me. I've obviously and very conveniently closed it right before we went live here on YouTube, Spoonie. But
he's 4 or 5 from 3.
Thank you. Quite good percentage-wise from Drew, and like only 5 attempts. Obviously, like picking his spots responsibly as well. But that point of attack defense that Drew Holiday brings back to the table, and just also like relieving some of the pressure on Derek White, who I think has had some like mild body language issues as well recently, which we'll get into in our New Year's resolutions after the first ad break here, Spoonie. But yeah, Drew coming back, it just kind of eases the tension on everybody, and starting with his defense. So definitely, at least part of the catalyst for holding the Raptors to 71 points, which I continue to glance at the score and am continually amazed. It's just a ridiculous deficit, and the great net rating reset that we all needed.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, man. And one thing I'll say with Derek is that Indy in the second game when they beat us did a really good job of forcing him to switch onto Miles Turner and took advantage of that. They didn't always give it to Turner, but he also got in there for offensive rebounds, or we had to scram switch and they took advantage and moved the ball while we were scram switching. Or we had to double, and then obviously you double against Indy. They're like us. They're going to punish you. When it's Drew Holiday, you can just switch that. And it's like, go ahead, Miles Turner. Try to post this dude up, and he doesn't stand a chance, really. So Drew certainly relieves the pressure off Derek White big time, and you can just sick him on people, and there's like nothing they can really do. I mean, he's been on and off defensively this year, but I think that's just like, hey, he's 33, 34. He's not going to bring it every night. But when he needs to bring it, like in fourth quarters or a game where he's fresh and hasn't played in a while, it just reminds you of how ridiculously impactful this dude is on that end. And like he's in DPOY discussions for the last decade for good reason, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just so damn good. And I think he really helps our communication defensively too. Our switches just look tighter. Everybody just seems a lot more comfortable when it's Drew Holiday out there, as well as Derek White, because they feed off each other defensively.
Yeah, it reminds you how important it is to get guys like Drew and Al obviously rest throughout the season, because he comes back after missing a few. He mentioned that the shoulder impingement is a legitimate, although not particularly concerning, ailment that he's been sporting for a little while now. But he gets that rest and he comes back and just looks better on both sides of the ball immediately. So I'd expect the team to continue to find opportunities to give him a rest. But it's nice to have a reminder to know like what he can look like coming into the postseason healthy. I think we've all been scrambling for those reminders lately in this last sort of 5 to 10 game stretch where we haven't looked like the Celtics of 2024. And so to get a reminder, by way of Drew Holiday just being fucking awesome on both ends, especially defensively, very important. Also great to see, I mentioned it earlier, just back to the offensive side of the ball, Sam Hauser just finally looking good on both sides of the ball as well. I thought we saw an uptick from him defensively, really with the whole team essentially in this one. But to see that side of Sam Hauser's game come back for the first time really since the beginning of the season, I thought was really impressive. And it finally looks like he's starting to find some consistency in his shot too. Yeah,
I'm hoping the back is feeling better. And like this is the start of him kind of going on a run. He's still at 37% from 3 after tonight, which like... It's crazy that we're all like, this dude's slumping so hard and he's at like a positive 3-point, above league average 3-point percentage. But like his game to be a consistent positive contributor, he just needs to make threes because he doesn't do a ton else. I mean, he's a solid decent defensive player, but he's not like playmaking for dudes or posting people up. He's not drawn to on drives. So like he needs to shoot threes. And I feel like we've really missed him when he's not been playing well or he's been playing a little hurt with the back. So I'm really hopeful he's past the back issues, man, because that just sucks. We need him really bad.
Yeah, he is our wing depth. And so if he can't defend and if he can't shoot, which is his 3 and D, that's literally what we're asking of him, then like he's completely useless to him, which seems hypercritical, but that's kind of been the Sam Hauser experience so far this year. Due to injury, he's obviously welcomed a newborn baby late in the offseason as well, so there's a couple of factors there that could be contributing. But, maybe that baby's sleeping through the night now, Spoonie, because Sam Hauser's back.
I know, man. That's always the best. Like the first time you wake up in the morning and the baby didn't wake you up and you're like, oh, what time is it? It's 6 o'clock. Oh my God, we slept through the night. This is incredible.
Yeah. Followed by running into the bedroom to make sure they're still breathing.
100%, dude. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, we are maybe in the Sam Hauser doesn't need 2 feedings in the middle of the night stage, and which is just great news.
Hell yeah. Welcome to the club, Sammy Buckets. Welcome back, sir. A couple other points we can just rattle through. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this game. It's I think the most important takeaway is like, what does it mean for the upcoming road trip, which we'll talk about in the next segment. But a couple more things. Al Horford, just 21 minutes in a non-KP game. Huge achievement. Nice closing achievement for the Celtics there to round out their 2024 calendar year. Obviously, not many guys played in the fourth quarter at all, given it was such an epic blowout. But any opportunity you have to lighten the load on Al Horford is very important. He didn't have a particularly good game as well, so it's not like he was really contributing much if he did play additional minutes. Also, with the Jays, both of them, 6 of 13 from the field. But Jason Tatum, 23 points. Jaylen Brown, 12 points. Tatum got his work done at the free throw line in this one. Just a lot of offensive bully ball from Tatum, which you love to see.
Yeah, man. I thought both the Jays, I think they realized what was happening where... actually, the first half was pretty ugly. Like, nobody could make a shot. Tatum kind of kept us afloat a little bit at times. But they were just moving the ball, getting downhill, drawing two, and then, there's some beautiful offense in this game where multiple guys touching it on every possession. And, that's when this team is at its most dangerous. But, we love an aggressive Tatum who actually gets a fucking whistle because he never gets the whistle. So when he does, it's great. But he went 7 of 11. I'm sure Jake was cursing the gods when he saw him miss. I think it was 1 of 3 or 1 of 4 at one point. So at least he figured that out a little bit. But yeah, you got to convert those, Tatum. You could have 27, bro. Then we're really talking. But yeah, it was I think just sort of a professional. We're just going to beat up this really bad team, and neither of us have to take 25 shots tonight. And I thought they were both awesome defensively, like the whole team was. So just a professional, smart, don't force anything game from the Jays, and nobody on that team can really guard them either. So it's nice to see them draw two, move the ball.
Anything else on this game, Spoonie? I'm pretty keen to get to the New Year's resolutions. We'll get into an ad read for Prize Picks here first, but anything else that stood out to you with this one?
I have one thing. Ben, I know that you said maybe you weren't able to watch the very end when it was a complete fucking blowout. I urge you to watch the Jordan Walsh highlights.
Oh yeah, I caught those.
Okay, all right, just making sure because he looked confident. I will say that the pull up 3 off the pick and roll, getting downhill, got fouled once. The handle starting to really look it's coming around. A couple games ago, I clipped this play where he's in the corner, takes 3 super hard dribbles into traffic, and then dumps it off for Luke, who fumbles the pass, and it's a turnover. But it's Jordan Walsh. Ooh, this is starting to look interesting. And he continued that, man. I know it's garbage time, but the Raptors, those dudes are playing for their NBA lives. They're playing hard, and Jordan Walsh was saucing them off the dribble. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's still a fucking NBA team, man. And he's looking, I think the confidence, I think we've known that some of those sort of baseline skill sets have always been there, hard coded in his DNA somewhere, but they've never really come to fruition. And with the confidence, he's oh, now I can actually utilize some of these embedded skill sets that I have. But the drive and kick game, which is not something I really ever expected from him, it's almost there. He definitely under duress when the defense collapses on him, sort of under the bucket, he's not kicking out like super accurately to wide open 3-point shooters, but you can see like the steps coming together and the progressions and how like what his next step is in his development. If we're seeing that watching from home, like bleary-eyed at 7 a.m. on New Year's Day morning, which was the case for me, then surely the coaching staff are absolutely seeing that with a lot more clarity. So love to see it. Jordan Walsh is going to feature very heavily in our New Year's resolutions for the Celtics, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, a quick word from our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Think Steph Curry will get more than 5 3-pointers next week? Giannis more than 35 points? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. I'm a big fan of PrizePicks myself, personally. It's just such an easy way of adding a bit of spice to your hoops viewing experience. Just pick more or less on various player stats. For me right now, that would be more Tatum rebounds. Every single game, the guy is locked in on the glass. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That code is CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Almost perfectly in line with the B reel here, Spoonie. Now look, sorry, if you think we look and sound a little different, at least on my end, I'm on my parents' Wi-Fi, hidden away in a room in the depths of their home while my 4-year-old lurks outside the door here. So if I look and sound a little different, there's some nervousness there with the potential barging in of my child and potential poor internet connectivity as well. So thanks for sticking with us. New Year's resolutions, Spoonie, I'll throw it over to you.
Okay, so I've got a bunch. It's not just like player specific. Some are Joe specific. So my first one relates to zone defense. And this basketball analyst, I heard this well-endowed basketball analyst tweeted this out. He said, lately the C's have been trying zone. The results have not been good. Per synergy, it's me, by the way, if you're listening on the podcast.
Yes.
Per synergy, opponents have a 66 true shooting percentage against the Celtics zone defense so far this season. That is bad. That is very, very bad. We've only done it for like 60 possessions or something like that. But it has not worked. With that said, Drew Holiday comes back. We completely blanked the Raptors. Last year when we went to zone, which wasn't that often, Drew was usually in the middle of that like 2-1-2, directing traffic, flying out to shooters, getting back. He is sort of he's the foundational piece in the way we want to play zone defense because we play a very aggressive zone, and the guys are really smart about switching to man if they crack the zone.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work without Drew Holiday. So my New Year's resolution is, Joe, please no more zone if Drew Holiday is not playing. Just like stop it. It's not working. We're getting roasted if he's not out there. So please, for my sake, no more zone defense without Drew Holiday.
Yeah, that was the big like defensive trump card last year. Obviously, the presence of Drew alone, but like 2-1-2 zone and then switching to man as soon as they penetrated like beyond the free throw line. And that was maybe one of the more exciting defensive stretches I can recall in like the last few years as a Celtics fan, with just watching them pull that off like to perfection. Do you think that Kristaps Porzingis is a factor there as well in the zone where like he can kind of rotate out last minute and just like add that final layer of rim help or rim defense?
I think it really depends on the shooting of our opponent because he's obviously an incredible rim protector and like we basically can wall off the rim, but I don't love him having to like play the zone and get out to a corner shooter. Like if someone does crack the paint and then they're swinging it out to his corner, he's going to have to dead sprint out there. And I think we've seen that at times with him this year in the zone, is that like you can pull him away from the rim that way or make him drive a closeout or rather contest via closeout. And I don't want him moving more than he has to, one.
Yes.
And two, like that's the one thing he's really not great at defense. Like he can even switch a little bit if it's late clock and he just gives you some space and contests with high hands. But like flying out to shooters is not his thing. He's 7'3". It's no 7-footers thing other than Wemby. So yeah, I think it really is matchup dependent. And we ran it a lot against Indy. Indy does not seem like a team you want to go zone against, but they were cracking the paint so much. I think that's why we did it. That also didn't work anyway. But so against the right matchup, I think our zone defense could absolutely destroy some teams. Like if they're light on shooting, like see ya.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they dial that in and like re-hone that defensive approach as the season progresses. And that's exactly why we're talking about it right now. It's a clear thing to resolve for as a New Year's resolution heading into 2025. And yeah, Kristaps Porzingis, like side note, New Year's resolution, like no sudden changes of direction at speed, like maybe ever again for the rest of your life, at least until June, please, Kristaps. Thank you. Shout out to Aussie Phil in the chat as well, whose New Year's resolution is to hate the Sixers even more than he did last year.
Which almost seems
ambitious.
Impossible.
Yes.
Yeah, because Aussie Phil is the #1 Sixers hater. Yeah,
absolutely. Love to see it. Shout out to everyone joining us in the chat here. My first New Year's resolution, very much aligned with yours, is just rediscover your defensive identity as a team. I think with KP and Drew's court time in flux, it's the Jays that need to show more leadership here. We see it from time to time with Jalen. Not necessarily everyone like falls in line with that, but I'm curious, Spoonie, like what does that look like to you, given like we do have basically the same roster, but like in a way personnel issues just in terms of health and like presence on the court on a consistent basis. How do we rediscover that defensive identity despite all of that?
I think for me, it's about the point of attack intensity. It just feels like we're really letting ball handlers get by that initial layer of the defense, and that compromises everything. You just can't do that. And that's on everybody. Like, it's not on Derek. It's not on Peyton. It's not on Drew. Everybody has been letting ball handlers get by them too often, too easily. And you can tell because late in games when they need to turn it up, other than really that Indy game, but like most of the time, and they even turned it up for a while there, and Indy just kind of hit some bullshit, and that was that. But like when they turn the point of attack defense up, it's like, okay, this is the team I remember. But then they'll play 40 minutes where it's like, lazy switch. Oh, now it's Cornette out on Tyrese Halliburton, and he's downhill, and now they're laying it in. Like, fight over screens a little harder. Get a little more intense, higher pickup points because we're really picking dudes up. Like we're like under the 3-point line. And last year when we were at our best, it was like Pritchard's picking up dudes full court. They're picking them up at the hash marks. Like they're just in your face, making you uncomfortable for the entire shot clock. And I feel like we've not done that a ton this year. The good thing is, like, I think you're spot on here with calling it rediscover the defensive identity. It's there. We know it's there. I think that they can rediscover it whenever they want, really. And maybe that's kind of the problem, is that they know they can do that. And they're like, hey, man, it's a long season. You know, we win 55 games and are the 3 seed. It's not going to matter. Like, we're built for the playoffs. But it can be tough to watch at times. And, like, it's not fun to watch them get cracked off the dribble 25 times a game.
No, especially when the standard was previously so high, and you're like, "What happened, guys? Like, where are you? Where are the Celtics that I knew and loved?" But maybe like a way of rephrasing that, you kind of touched on it there, Spoonie, is like rediscover your motivation defensively, and then like the rest of the cards will fall into place. But sticking defensively, I know we just talked about this guy, but this feels like a good segue. Install Jordan Walsh as a permanent part of the rotation. I think would be a solid resolution for 2025. He's shooting, Spoonie. These are somewhat cherry-picked stats.
Screw it.
50% from 3 in the last 5 games on incredibly low volume. But 50%, it's nothing to shake a stick at. He has a net rating of 22.1 in the last 10 games, so a bit more sample size there. He suddenly has a demonstrable drive and kick game, which I just mentioned, and per synergy, he's forcing pick-and-roll ball handlers, to turn it over 17% of the time and limiting them to 45% true shooting. Pretty solid numbers for like your, I don't know, 12th guy, 11th guy. I think he deserves more playing time in 2025.
Yeah, and like for like in even just off the court reasons, like he's 20, so he's got a ton of room to grow, and he's locked up on a super cheap contract. So if we can use this season to really mold him into a positive player, money's going to be tight. The fact that he's on a really cheap contract, if he can be like a 7th, 8th man next year and the year after, that's going to be absurdly valuable for this team. And I think at this point, he's flashed enough where he's clearly way more comfortable on both sides of the ball than he was last year. The pick and roll turnover number, like, that's not nothing, man. Steals are important. Like, not only are they stopped, they're super high offensive rating for the team that just got the steal because it's usually an easy transition basket. So forcing turnovers, he needs to cut the fouling down. But if he's playing 15 minutes a night, who gives a shit? Hack away, buddy.
Hell yeah.
But I think the really interesting stat for me is like cleaning the glass. They do the on-off differential. So like how much better our net rating is when this guy's on compared to off. Jordan Walsh leads the team and they filter out garbage time. So he's a plus 9.4. So the Celtics, their baseline net rating is like, plus 10 or whatever. They're basically like a plus 20 when Jordan Walsh is on the court. It's more than double the second guy on the team, who is Jason Tatum at plus 3.8. He's a plus 9.4, man. Like, we are 9.4 points per 100 better from our baseline of being awesome with Jordan Walsh on than off. That alone, plus all the stuff we're seeing with the eye test where he just looks more comfortable. He's like driving. He's pulling up he's taking shots from three. He's confident. Like, dude's got to play, and he's got to play a lot. And Al Horford's been playing minutes at the 4. No more. Those are Jordan Walsh's minutes, Al. You get 15 a night too, buddy. Pack it up till the playoffs.
Yeah, he's fully ascended to 2024 O'Shea Brissett at a minimum.
Yeah.
And gone, not completely gone, but partially gone are the giraffe on ice skates level, sort of visually of his game. I think aesthetically he's quite nice to watch currently. I think he has just good style and aesthetic to his game, and I just like a fucking bald dude playing hoops. It just reminds me of Michael Jordan. I'm easily pleased.
His name is Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. And he's obviously very bald, so I like what he's putting down. I'm picking that up. I've just gone 2 in a row for resolution, Spoonie. So what have you got?
So I had obviously played Jordan Walsh, but I had an appendix to that. Play Drew Peterson if you're not going to play Jordan Walsh. We don't need to talk about him much because the numbers don't really say play Drew Peterson like they do say play Jordan Walsh. But I have get Al more touches on the short roll, or just get Al more touches in the post. Not because I want him trying to score. Just because I think he makes really great decisions. Over 40% of his possessions are spot ups. He's such a good passer. He had 4 assists last night. And just let him get into those areas where we use Luke a lot, which I will be talking about Luke's passing later. But if you just get the ball to Al Horford around the free throw line, it's going to compromise the defense some. They're going to pay attention to him and just let him make the read. And it's something we used to do a ton. He's just old now, so we're not doing it nearly as often. But I just like to see us use Al's versatility a little bit more. And I think the reason we don't is, again, old.
Yeah, if you're 38 years old and still in the league and basically 7 feet tall, it's at least partially because you make awesome reads in under duress. And we've seen it short roll. He never looks at the rim or hardly ever looks at the rim, but he's so capable of making that kick out play or getting rid of the ball and re-screening and just keeping that motion offense going. So very much behind that, getting Al Horford more touches while somehow limiting the additional mileage on his body. It's funny, Spinny, because we always talk about send him on holidays. We don't want to see him until April, but also let's give the guy more touches as well. But I somehow fully agree with you. That's a good one. Okay, another resolution: make this upcoming West Coast road trip the jumping off point for greatness. So we talked about maybe the lack of motivation or the reasoning for finding motivation for the defense. Can this West Coast trip be that? If you go and rattle off 3-1 against the T-Wolves, Rockets, Thunder, especially the Thunder, and Nuggets, who we weren't able to defeat last year. Obviously a different team this year, but still clearly a matchup challenge for the Celtics with Jokic and basically the rest of the league. It's time to remind us of your greatness, and there may be no better stretch so far this season to do that. So I would like to think, and we did some predictions on our Patreon page as well, which you can subscribe to, link in the description. I did some predictions for what the remainder of the season might look like, and the initial prediction was that this upcoming road trip would be that point of galvanization for the team where they rediscover their identity a little bit. Do you think that's possible, or am I running from my fear of what this might actually look like?
No, I certainly think that's possible. I actually think that's what's going to happen. This has been a weird season, man. We had that one weird stretch where we played one game in 5 days, and then we had basically one game in 2 weeks, and we've been playing a lot of Indy's solid, but they're not like one of our marquee matchups. And like we've played the Bulls a couple times, we played the Pistons, we just played the like these dudes just won the title. Like they need to feel a reason to get up for a regular season game. And I think like this road trip is absolutely a measuring stick. And this version of the team, the Missoula version, I feel like they always rise to the challenge. And I think they're probably looking forward to it. It's tough. Like road trips are really difficult, but this team kills people on back-to-backs. Like, I think they take that as a challenge, and I think road trips are kind of a similar thinking. Like, they think we're going to be tired. They think we're not going to bring it. Let's show these dudes who we are. And if they don't, they're going to get their asses beat because the Timberwolves are not great this year, but they're going to be up for this game. You saw the documentary with Ant chirping. Like, he obviously measures himself against Tatum, even if he's loath to admit that. The Rockets are really good. They're probably the second best team that we're playing, other than the Thunder, who are maybe the best team in the NBA in the regular season. And then obviously Jokic is Jokic, so we'll see what we get from that Nuggets team. But so yeah, man, I think this is absolutely an opportunity to do that. If they go 3-1 or 4-0 and then lose to, like some janky game a week later, I'm not going to give a shit. But if they go like 1-3, I will start to worry.
Yes. Yeah, it's such a fork in the road, a vibes fork in the road. It has the potential to be such a vibes restoration where it's like suddenly if it's 3-1 or 4-0, that'd be amazing. Suddenly, like Tatum MVP conversation is back. Suddenly, best team in the league conversation is back. It restores so much of our glory from last year, and it's all like right at our doorstep right now. So it's a sort of a pivotal point for the vibes, if nothing else. What else you got, Spoonie?
Okay, Ben, this one's dedicated to you. Who on the Celtics is shooting 80% from mid-range and 88% from the paint non-restricted area?
I want to say it's Samelo Hauser.
It is Samelo Hauser. So my New Year's resolution is more Samelo, man. More mid-range from Sam Hauser. We know you can shoot threes. Now is the time to build up the other parts of your game. It's the regular season. Who gives a shit? Take a couple dribbles, like pump fake some threes you wouldn't normally pump fake. Take 2 dribbles and fire up. I want to see him shoot one where he's not open by 7 feet. Like he did take one that was kind of like a fall away that he buried. Like stretch your wings a little bit, Sam. And if it becomes a real weapon, that's just another dimension to the Celtics offense. And like shooting 87, 86% or whatever it is on these shots combined, that's too good. That means your volume needs to be higher and you're not shooting them enough. So give me more Samelo.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing I say when I get out of bed every day is more Samelo Anthony Hauser,
right?
Please. Yeah, I mean, I could probably make a 1-hour highlight reel of me begging for Sam Hauser to shoot more mid-range shots or celebrating after the fact when he does. It's clearly part of his game. Shoot. He's a good shooter. It doesn't matter if he's 2 paces beyond the three-point line, right near the bucket, or anywhere in between. Like, he likes to get them off, and it clearly can hit them from anywhere. And pause. And like he can drive closeouts now and find himself space by doing just that. So I'd love to see that. That's a fan. I don't know why I didn't have that as a resolution. That's probably because I live and breathe that every day of my life. But that's a great one, Spoody.
You're too close.
Yes, that's exactly right. Okay, resolve to not trade Kristaps Porzingis in 2025. This is a tough one and pretty divisive at the moment, even on this show among the three of us. But a healthy KP is the only thing that makes us OP. Like you could trade KP for pieces that make us very good and potentially limit Al Horford's minutes load, but it's the presence of KP. It's the only attainable thing realistically that could make us OP and overpower even the OKC Thunder at this stage, I think, if healthy. So hugely risky in that he's unlikely to be healthy, but you have to at least go with the chance. It's like holding a lottery ticket that has like a 20% chance to win instead of a 1% chance to win. Like you gotta go with those odds and hold that lottery ticket. So I think the goal is just to have him healthy and conditioned in April, which right now in mid-December early January, is not looking good. But it's a long regular season and it's a long-term game plan with KP, and I just don't see any other alternative that's attainable via trade that will put us in a better position that we're in with a potentially healthy KP. So I think you need to resolve to hold on to the guy.
Yeah, there's no trade out there that makes us better than having healthy Kristaps Porzingis. That's for damn sure. And Jake and I had the long discussion about it. From my perspective, born of my frustration with him continually getting hurt. But you're right. Like, the big picture is it doesn't matter. Like, if he's healthy in April and May, that is all that matters. So I do think if there's something out there that at least gives you somebody that can play, like, can play and can relieve Al a little, man, I would seriously consider it. But I think you're right that, like, we won the title without him. I don't think we can do it again without him, but that's a pretty good baseline for making the argument that it's like, just see if he's healthy, because if he's not, we still have as good of a shot as just about anybody to win the title. And if he is, we are by far the favorites. So don't undermine that ceiling by potentially moving sideways. And, like, I'm not even sure that trade's out there. I said DeAndre Ayton's name when Jake and I were talking about it. I was spiraling that day. All right. It was a long day. I had the kid all day. So no, I think it's wise not to trade him. But I'm an idiot, so that's why I've talked about it.
So am I. Yeah. And, like, all of Jake's reasoning, and, like, he caveated all of that reasoning with, like, I don't want to trade KP. It's just more that we might have to. And a huge part of that argument is just the preservation of Al Horford, which I, like, fight for every day of my life. So I do understand that side of it. I think that we're going to need him this postseason, like he touched on. I don't know if we're going to get the same, like, dream run through the playoffs, and I think we're going to need, like, the 7-foot Latvian Moses cheat code guy to get us through some of these series, especially with all the mileage on other guys like Drew Holiday and Al Horford. So I think he's going to be of particular importance. Okay, I think I've lost count. We might be like 6 New Year's resolutions in, Spoonie. You got any more for us?
I've got 2 more, and we can probably move on pretty quickly. More Tatum inverted pick and rolls. I guess it's not inverted. More traditional Tatum pick and rolls where he's setting the screen. He only has 37 total possessions per synergy as a pick and roll man. He's only in the 49th percentile, but that's still more efficient than his pick and roll ball handler possessions, even though he's, like, in the 80 or 85th percentile of that. It's just a more efficient play to hit the roll man, and when that roll man is Jason Tatum, it's going to work. Like, that's a small sample size to even say, like, well, he's only 40. Like, he will get more efficient as he gets more reps at it. And just, like, in general, more Tatum off ball, 91st percentile as a cutter. And he's only had 25 possessions that count as, like, off screen. So traditionally that's off a pin down or stagger pin downs. Just get him a little more. We know he's an elite on-ball player. We know that. So let's see if we can't add a little more Tatum off-ball. And I think he's improved with all of that as he's grown and as he's gotten older. Sure. I just want more of it because he's good at it.
Yeah, anytime you get him, like, just dashing towards the bucket, and he's been so good around the rim this year, and you guys talked with Drew Hanlon about, like, the emphasis on finishing off 2 feet, like, being able to make that cut or that roll towards the bucket without, like, the hindrance of the ball, if you want to call it that, so that he can cash it, establish more balance, and then finish off 2 feet, I think is, like, hugely advantageous for Tatum and the Celtics, obviously. I'd love to see more of that. That's a really good one. We're going to get to an ad read here. I think you've got game time for a Spoonie. We'll come back and round it out with a few more New Year's resolutions.
So, I have to hit the B reel. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, off to a good start.
I should have queued you up.
All right, game time. So one of my best friend's birthdays is a few days after Christmas. So back when I was in law school, back when Isaiah Thomas ruled the Garden, me, him, and 2 other friends decided to go catch the little guy, light it up. We got to watch him hang 52 on the Miami Heat, and, just, like, enjoy being buddies. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season, friends or family. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that means getting tickets for live events is even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. The WVU Mountaineers beat Kansas in Kansas for the first time in program history yesterday. We are 10-2. Rank us, you cowards. I am going to the game on Saturday in the Coliseum against Oklahoma State, and I'm going thanks to Game Time. It's super easy. You just hop on the app, search for the game or team you're looking for, and you're shown all the available tickets and all the best deals right on your phone. The curated deals make it even easier to find the best seats, the best prices. And maybe my favorite feature is the seat view. It'll show you exactly what it looks like from your seat before you buy. And when you go to buy, toggle in the all-in pricing. You won't be hit with any surprise fees. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Dude, WVU, killing it. Yeah, rank them. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Number 7 Kansas in their house. First time ever. Let's go.
Yeah, I will say
Big
the
win.
extent of my college hoops knowledge is like reading your tweets and messages in our Discord. But
my
through
Game Time reads. Yeah.
Yes, I'm absolutely thrilled by the WVU experience through that alone. So love to see it. And shout out to Game Time and the CLNS Network for presenting the First of the Floor podcast. We are like 100 subscribers away, by the way, from 10,000 on YouTube. So if you're here maybe for the first time, welcome. Thank you for joining us. But please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, engage with the channel, tell the algorithm that this show is worth recommending to potential new viewers. Now back to the New Year's resolutions. Derek White body language, it's not really phrased as a resolution, but I haven't like thrown this out there to you or Jake yet, Spoonie, but have you noticed like a downturn in Derek White's body language? I feel like he's hanging his head a lot, and he just doesn't seem to be the sort of like bright-eyed, friendly dude. I know this is like super anti-analytical of me, but have you noticed that at all?
The one thing I've really noticed is he's had some ghastly turnovers the last couple weeks that's just like he never, ever did stuff like that. He had a kid too, right? So like maybe that's part of it. Like he's got a young kid, and I think he has 2 kids now, which I could not imagine. So I think there's something to it. I don't know if like he seems like he's getting more frustrated when he doesn't get calls than he ever used to too. Like often, like I feel like he would just like shake his head like, you idiot for not calling that. But now I see him like doing the Tatum, throwing the hands up sometimes. So his shot hasn't been going in a lot. Obviously he was great yesterday, but it like this stuff can just like boil over a season, right? Like you have a few games where the shot's not going down. You don't get a call you think you get. You throw a dumb pass, and it's sort of like builds on itself. So I think he maybe is just going through a little bit of a rough patch, but I think our sweet boy's still there, Ben. I think he's okay.
I just miss him so.
Yeah, I know.
He called it the worst stretch in his Celtics tenure, which I thought was, it felt a little dramatic to me. I'm like, it's been bad, but surely the cushion of the recent championship, I know for us fans, has really made life a lot easier on like the grimness front with the Celtics. But obviously not the case with Derek White, but I just miss his like smiling good
Cheery.
nature. So hopefully he's back soon in that sense. And he was great against the Raptors, like you said. Probably got a couple more we can quickly rattle off before we get out of here, Spoonie. Any more on your mind?
I just want to see Luke Cornett like hit him a little more often when he flashes to the paint. Like I've got a clip here.
Adebayo is 2 for 12. Brown looks it to him. Out to White. Oh, we are rolling.
So
like
good.
that's a great read. He catches it, kind of scans the floor, and like turns and fires an overhand bullet pass to the open shooter. Like let Luke Cornett make some reads from the paint. Like find him. He's huge. Toss it up there and let him make a read a little more often, because he's like turning into a great passer for a big man. Like he was always good, okay, but I feel like he's really level up the passing recently.
Yeah, I loved how he's like clawed his way back to like clearly the
Yeah.
dominant backup big over Nemish Keita. Like he's just completely silenced that conversation. And you and Jake touched on a pod a couple of weeks ago. You did like a whole segment on Luke Cornett, which was great. Definitely go check it out. It's a couple of episodes ago if you haven't seen that. But there was a lot of talk about, like the quality of the reads that he's making. And now he's actually looking at the rim on those short roll catches as well. And that just puts so much more pressure on the defense. If he's not making that read and that kick out pass, he's just getting straight to the rim. He is a freaking giant, and he's just like throwing them down. Yeah, a couple of stretches recently where he was like seemingly unable to catch a lob. And I thought that the lobs that JT and Pritchard were throwing him were like pretty solid. I was like, what's going on with this Luke?
Yeah.
But then he, like he always does, nip that in the bud, solve that problem on the fly, and now he's back to just being the awesome Cornish Gainhand that we know and love. So that's a great one. Hit more Cornet.
Yeah.
Trade Jaden Springer, I think, is something to resolve for in 2025. We've covered the trade candidates on previous pods. I think maybe the Yabusele ship may have sailed because, unfortunately, and shout out Aussie Phil, the Sixers are like on the way back up again, which is terrible. But wing depth seems to be the immediate priority, which is obviously something that Jaden Springer doesn't give us. So if you can salary dump Springer, maybe sign Lonnie Walker, for example, or just give yourself a little bit more maneuverability to fill that roster spot. And like we do have obviously one open roster spot still, but also like in a way too, functionally, given that like Baylor Shireman is not giving us anything, he's going to be a main, for the rest of the year. So we do have a depth issue there that needs to be solved. And with that chunk of $4 million in salary, like we got to do something with that. So that's a huge resolution for the upcoming year.
Yeah, this is my number one resolution. For the love of God, trade Jaden Springer. He's one of my least favorite Celtics to watch, and I feel bad because he seems like a nice guy, but I just never got it. Still don't get it. And like, I feel like we need a big wing. We just do, man. Like, there's even matchups where Hauser's not quite physical or big enough. And that puts a lot of miles on Jason Tatum because then he's the guy who has to play big minutes and bang bodies. So like Torrey Craig, somebody there, like they don't have to be that good. They just need to be able to play like 18 minutes a night. Which I'm not even sure Springer's played 18 real minutes all season. So he's obviously, him not providing wing depth might be like the nicest thing that's been said about his game in a while. Because it's usually much more negative than that. So yeah, please just trade Jaden Springer for a 10th man level guy. That's all we need.
Absolutely. The only other resolutions I have are win the championship, repeat, obvious goal for the upcoming year would be huge and definitely possible. And I think it's easy to have lost sight of that given some of the recent troubles that we've seen. But this is character building stuff. And like we talked about with what might potentially occur with this upcoming road trip, maybe necessary in galvanizing the team long term. But like I said, easy to lose sight of that at this current juncture. But win the title. That's what you're built for. That's what someone, potentially new ownership, is paying all this tax for. Got to get it done. So win the championship. And then finally, Celtics organization, please allow one of your players to come on the show. Come on.
Anybody.
We're working hard
We'll
over
take
here.
Springer.
Yeah. We'll have to scrub some stuff from the internet before we get him on, but we'll take him.
Yeah, I won't be on if it's him or Baylor Shireman. I'll just say that. So I'll make sure I'm not present for either.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. I'm showing up. But yes, please let us get somebody. That would be awesome. That's it. I feel like for us, like not joking aside, that is like one of our number one goals going into this next year of the podcast is to like crack that player barrier, man. We're so close, I feel like.
Yeah, we just keep bouncing off the atmosphere and getting shot back into space. And we just need to have the right, what do they call it, the entry trajectory or whatever it's called. Clearly, I'm not a rocket scientist. But yeah, there's something to that analogy. All right, anything else for us, Spoonie, before we let this one go?
Oh, really quick. I am currently 1,500 words into a Drew Peterson deep dive. I'm going to try to keep it under 2,000, but check that out probably sometime in the next couple of days on Celtics blog.
Nice. Looking forward to seeing that one. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in a couple of days, and we'll keep checking in throughout this spicy West Coast road trip. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything from us on that front. Spoonie, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.